Love under the scope.
Hello, and welcome to Love Under the Scope. This is a podcast where we get into everything long-term relationships, all of the nitty-gritty, the hard stuff that comes with being with another person and committing to being in a relationship of this nature. We get a lot of images of relationships on social media, in TV, and movies, and they can be quite unrealistic, leaving us to feel alone in our struggles a lot of the time. We might feel like there's something wrong with our relationship if we're going through something particularly difficult. We might even question the relationship itself. Am I meant to be with this person? It can have us feeling crazy sometimes when we get into these patterns with our partner, these dynamics that are very frustrating and can leave us with a lot of disconnection, not feeling seen, not feeling heard, maybe even not feeling safe with your partner on an emotional level. In this podcast, I aim to look at the stuff that people might not be talking about a lot, especially not in public on their social media profiles. These are things that we might not even talk about with our friends or family. Maybe we don't have the room to discuss what's going on in our relationship emotionally, how we feel about our partner. So this is a place where you can come to feel like you are not alone. The things that you are experiencing in your long-term relationship are most likely very normal. We are human beings. We are not perfect. We're not programmed like an AI. And so there are complications. And actually, that's the beauty of being human, is that we get to be presented with these challenges and then be crafty and creative enough to solve them and do that as a team with your partner. Well, in order to become a team, we do need to look at some of the more difficult stuff in the relationship, the parts where we don't feel 100%. If you want to take your relationship to the next level, yeah, we do have to go in and excavate and do some inner work, preferably by both partners, but at least by one. If it's you're listening to the show and you're wanting to do some inner work, that is what I have seen helps people the most to work through frustrating patterns, not knowing where to turn in a relationship, doing this work and becoming more self-aware, able to self-reflect and move through difficult things together with your partner standing by your side. I am the host of this podcast, Kelby Lauren, and I'm a self-love and relationship coach. I work with couples, I work with individuals to help them get more connected to themselves, what they want in this life, how to create that. We have all of the answers within us. I believe that we could use our intuition and other factors to answer all of the questions we have in life. And so I help people to get in touch with the part of themselves that has the answers. And we do have to do some digging and some looking at the past in order to get to what we want. That is the case a lot of the time. It requires us to sometimes take a hard look at our conditioning, or our shit is what I would call it. We have to look at our shit, and it's not always pleasant. And then we are given the opportunity to work through it. Not always easy. This is the kind of stuff that I am very passionate about. I love to learn about relationship dynamics. How can we grow together? How can we do some work on ourselves so that we feel like a team, so that we feel like we're working together toward a shared goal? Trust me, once you're able to do that, I'm not saying that I'm perfect at it in my relationship, but I have seen it happen in moments where you become unstoppable. If you can work together as a team with your partner, you truly become unstoppable as far as achieving what you want, what you desire in life. I also am in a long-term relationship of about 6.5 years now. Sometimes I say 7, I round up, but it's really 6.5 years. Some of what I bring to the table on this show are experiences that I have had in my relationship. And then some would be from working with clients and also just existing in the world and seeing couples interact and seeing all of these different dynamics between people and genuinely having a deep curiosity for how people work. How can we work together? That's a huge passion of mine. Today's topic is a fun one. I'll jump back to last week where I covered how self-hatred is ruining your relationship. I do think that's a great preliminary episode to listen to before today's. It's kind of the more shadowy part of this conversation. Today's topic is a little bit more fun, a little more playful, and we are talking about why your relationship is actually perfect and nothing needs to change. I'm going to let that sink in. It's true. We spend so much time wondering what we can fix. What can we achieve? What can we perfect within our lives and our relationships? Relationships are a huge part of our life. We are constantly looking at what's wrong, what is not quite perfect in our relationships. This episode is going to be an invitation to you. This is an invitation into loving and appreciating what is already here. The cool thing about this topic is that there is nothing that needs to change in your life. A lot of the time, I do talk about issues where we do want to do some self-reflection. We do want to do some cleaning up. We might want to release a belief system and actively work at achieving that. Today's topic is about how everything is fine just as it is today, right now. Every topic that I bring to this show is usually something that I am mulling over in my head. This weekend, I was thinking about how I really am living my dream life. This isn't a bragging video, by the way. I'm not here to tell you how rich and famous and luxurious my life is. I drive an average car. I live in an average apartment. I love these things. I love my car. I love my apartment. But to any other person, they would just be average things. I have spent a lot of time in my past thinking that something always needed to be fixed. There was always something to do. There was always something to achieve. Never stop growing, keep on changing. And when we're in that mindset of always working, doing this inner work, it is a big commitment and it's very fulfilling. It is so worth it to do self-reflection and to become self-aware in that way. And it takes a lot of energy. If we are doing this work, there is a point where we need some time to pause and enjoy whatever it is that we have been working on so diligently. When we are in that mode of achieve, keep going, there's never enough change that can happen. There's never enough growth. It's always going to be more, more, more. That's not a bad thing. I think that keeps us moving forward with our stuff and not getting stuck in the shit for too long. So it's not that that quality is a bad thing, but we often forget to slow down and to appreciate the things that we have right now, today. What part of your life have you been wishing for since you were a child? What part of your life was a dream for you at some point? And particularly, this is a show about relationships. So what is it about your relationship that is already like a dream today? And the idea that your relationship could be today exactly what it was meant to be this whole time. This is the whole point, right? That's the trend on Instagram and TikTok. I've almost forgot that this is the whole point. Well, it's kind of spot on. When this idea occurred to me earlier this weekend, it was clear this idea of having a change of perception. So the way that we perceive our relationship is hardwired into our brain. And we are essentially playing looping beliefs in our mind about our relationship over and over again until we can come in and go, record scratch, stop that loop from happening, and bring in a new perspective. And that kind of change, maybe you've experienced it before, where you had a change of perception about a situation. The situation itself didn't change from the outside. Rather, you changed from the inside, your perception changed, and so the situation changes with that. That's the idea that I'm getting at here. If we can start to appreciate the part of our relationship that is a dream come true today, the things that you never thought you would have, how special it is to be with this person that you have chosen to share your life with. I hope that you are able to find something in there that is dream worthy. A lot of the time, if we can just find a nugget, one little shred, well, he gives me a glass of water before bed every night. That is something I always dreamed of, that level of care and thoughtfulness. So taking that one little nugget of gratitude and dreaminess, and then we can gradually expand that into other areas of the relationship. We can actually show up into the relationship with more gratitude and appreciation for what we share. And because we do that, the relationship changes. It's actually crazy stuff. Yes, we can have an external change to the relationship. We get married, we have a child, we move into a different home. But what about these changes that come from within and allow us to see our partner through new lenses and filters? We're so heavy with our filters of perception, and a lot of the time, criticism and not enoughness. Which, by the way, we usually feel about ourselves and then project onto our partner. Well, he's not enough and he is not doing enough. And in reality, we are actually talking about ourselves in some way. And so that's what this episode is about today. It's about coming from the bottom up with change and doing that by acknowledging the parts of our relationship that are a living dream, where we get to live what we once thought maybe wasn't possible, or something that we dreamed of as a child. I want to be loved by a partner who is strong, who knows what he wants in this life, whatever it is, who's handsome, who's a beautiful man. These things are dreamlike and they're happening in real life right now. And sometimes we miss all of the beauty and richness of our relationship because we're so distracted by what is wrong, what we think is wrong, which is really not. It's not wrong. It's just reality. Reality isn't wrong or right. We put the label of wrong or right, good or bad, enough and not enough, criticism or appreciation. So what I am inviting you as a listener to do in this episode is to toy with the idea, to open up a portion of your mind. There's a teacher that I love. Her name is Mary something. And she talks about, can you open a portion of your mind, a piece of your mind to the idea that it could be true, that your relationship might be exactly what it needs to be today. It's already there. Before we get into the actual topic, I want to acknowledge the perhaps elephant in the room of why would a relationship coach be teaching that nothing needs to change and you can stay as is in your relationship? Well, here's the funny part about this topic. In order to start feeling true gratitude that isn't just you kind of faked it, you knew you had to do a gratitude journal for the night, so you kind of like ripped out a page from some notebook and scratched, I'm grateful for being alive. I have done that before. Fake it till you make it gratitude. And yeah, it can be helpful, but in order to feel true gratitude, I believe, in order to really be connected with love, with appreciation, with presence, of being in that moment rather than being in our past, we do have to go in and look at our stuff. Look at our conditioning, look at the filters that we are using to view our relationship. How are we seeing our past in the relationship today? That will keep us from acknowledging the beauty of the relationship because we're so trapped in the old story of who I am and how I am to be loved and if I am lovable enough, if I'm not, if the person is going to leave me, all of the things that they're doing wrong. The huge wave of criticism that we can sometimes have the urge to fling at our partner. These are all filters and conditioning from our past, from our childhood, from traumatic events that have happened in our life in the past. What we learned about how everything in life works, including relationships and love. If you are into any kind of manifestation, you may have heard that having gratitude is a big part of that. And I am a firm believer that appreciating and loving what we have today, loving what is in front of us today, is a huge part of then manifesting or bringing in abundance of love or money or whatever it is, building in that layer of appreciation and presence. Being in love with what I have today, that brings in more clarity and more of an avenue for opportunity to come in, for change, and for decisions that align with us at a deep level. We are going to dive in now and get into how we are conditioned to look at our relationship. What filter does society tell us to look at our relationship with? How does society, how did our parents and family, movies, television, how did all of these aspects of life influence our beliefs about the world, what we believe is true about relationships? This is a very personal process to go through conditioning and to look at what we were taught. Everybody is taught their own flavor of fun, we'll call it craziness. And sometimes it can be really tricky to unwind all of the different beliefs that we have. They might be wrapped up together. They might be buried deep, deep down. A lot of us will learn the belief that I am not enough. I do not deserve something. I am not worthy of love. I have to do something. I have to perform. I have to be someone. I have to put on a mask of something I am not in order to please others and be worthy of receiving love and being safe to be loved. A lot of us don't learn that feeling love is safe as you are getting older, from infancy into teenage years. Those are the times where we learn what is true about ourselves. We will internalize the way that we were treated by our parents or what we were told by society, that we always need to be doing more. We always have to be achieving something and striving for perfection, which is not even real in every aspect of our life. If we don't feel worthy, or we feel like we have to achieve something in order to be loved, chances are we're going to want to always be doing something, always looking for what is wrong. What is wrong with my partner? What is wrong with our sex life? What is wrong with our communication and our family, etc.? This feeling can even come in where if we do relax, if we rest, if we just allow things to be the way they are without picking them apart or trying to control the situation, if we just relax, sometimes that can feel wrong. There can be fear that comes in there and says, you should be doing something. Why are you being lazy? You are not achieving enough to be worthy of love. In the self-help world, it can be easy to get wrapped up into doing work all the time and never taking a break, never just allowing things to be okay as they are. It all boils down to fear. Fear that if I am not picking something apart with the relationship, that I will get hurt, that something unexpected will happen. When we get so wrapped up into the fixing mode, and we've got that magnifying glass on our relationship all the time, filled with criticism, not able to see the beauty of our relationship, we miss out on moments of actual connection. A connection is a simple thing. It's not something that you need a 600-page textbook in order to understand. It's very simple. It can be eye contact. It can be hand holding. It can be a hug. Connection that happens at a deep level happens when we're both able to settle into the connection. You probably have felt the difference between a hug where you or the other person is stiff and not able to receive the hug versus a nice, warm bear hug where you felt wrapped up and there was actual connection between you and the person you were hugging. That's sort of what I'm talking about here. It's an inability to receive the beauty of the relationship because we're so busy nitpicking, we're so busy thinking that everything is wrong in the relationship and that all these things need to be fixed. We might feel that way about our life as well. Everything is wrong and everything needs to be fixed. And we have these kind of shit-colored glasses looking out on our life. That detracts from the moments of actual connection and intimacy in a relationship. Actually becomes a distraction from the connection that we have. Isn't that ironic? We can become so focused on fixing and perfecting the relationship that we miss out on the moments that are perfect, just as they are, in their simplicity. No words needed. There's a movie called About Time where the protagonist is able to travel back in time and change some of the key moments in his life to make them better for himself. If he felt awkward in a certain moment in his past, he would go back and change that. And he ended up reflecting in the end, noticing that some of the best moments were the ones that he didn't change, that he just allowed to happen as they were. And that his life without all the changes, without all of the striving for perfection, that was the best version of reality, was the one that was unchanged and was just allowed to be as it was. Relationships will always be the most important part of our lives. These are my values, that relationships are extremely important, especially the one with our partner. That should be the relationship that is a priority in our lives. Again, in my opinion, I think it behooves us as human beings in all areas of our life, work, family, travel, play, all of these buckets of our life, our health. That's a big one. Our health is a huge one. They're all affected by our relationship, by how we connect and love our partner. Part of that relationship is having these moments where we are connected, where we are appreciating what we have. By the way, I would bet that there are a lot of people on this planet that would wish for what you have in your relationship. I don't know your particular circumstances. I'm sure your relationship isn't perfect. Mine isn't. That's okay. We're all a work in progress. We're all doing our best. And the fun part is that we get to do this work and we get to shift and change and see ourselves in all of these different lights. That's the fun part. I have another disclaimer for this episode. I feel like it's important to say that if you are truly unhappy, if you are in an abusive relationship, whether it's mentally abusive, physically, emotionally, this episode and my show in general is probably not for you. I am generally talking about healthy relationships where we mostly feel respected, seen, all of these things, safe. It can't be perfect all the time. We can't always feel safe 100% of the time in a relationship. But I do generally speak to mostly healthy, mostly secure relationships. When we are so focused on fixing and achieving and more, I do think there's an element of our partner could feel like what we have today isn't enough. I know I have felt that in the past when my partner was dreaming about a place to move or somewhere we could live or something we could do. And I have felt that thought of, well, is this not enough? And of course, that's not what he was implying, but I do wonder if that could be a built-in layer, an unspoken layer of this issue where we are wanting to control and fix and always be solving some problem, always have some criticism of something that's wrong or something that we want to achieve. And if we don't have that, or until we have that, I'm going to be unhappy and I'm going to be in a sour mood. But what about what we have today? Do we not have what we need? I would assume if you're listening to this podcast, you have what you need right now in this moment. You are okay. Your needs are met. Do we really need to keep working on the relationship all the time? Or can we allow ourselves to just take a break and to revel in what we have created? I encourage you to take a minute now and meditate on this idea of living the dream right now, specifically in your relationship. What about your relationship is already fulfilling dreams that you had in the past, maybe as a child? I want you to pause this episode and think of 3 real things and let yourself feel each one that you appreciate about your relationship that is dreamlike. And you hesitate to even call these gratitudes because this to me is something beyond that. This is a dream that I'm living in. Yes, gratitude is a huge part of that. And there's something beyond gratitude there for me. There's something magical. There is something ethereal to that for me. So take a second now and pause and think of 3 things that are already dreamlike in your relationship today. What if nothing needed to change? What if what was happening right now in your life was more than enough? Not just enough, plenty. It was beyond enough. What if you were already abundant, and abundance isn't something that you need to strive for and chase all the time? Abundance from within. How are you already abundant today? You thought that you needed to keep striving for abundance and keep meditating and doing chakra clearings and chanting, and all of these things are wonderful, don't get me wrong, but what if you already had it today, right now, in you? I want to emphasize that it does take starting to do some of the reflection on conditioning from our childhood and starting to strip away some of those layers. I do think we need to do that before we can truly bring in this idea of already living the dream. Nothing needs to change. It's already here. Sometimes there's just so much of a filter on our perception. This is me. I have been this way my whole life, that my filters have been very distorted and my understanding of the world has been clouded. In order to see more clearly what I already had in my relationship, it took some excavating of the past. And that can feel treacherous sometimes. It can feel difficult to move through some of that stuff. And it does free up some space for us to bring in what we want. I don't want to feel the disappointment in my relationship. I don't want to criticize my partner. I don't want to feel frustrated that we are not on the same page and he doesn't understand me and he's not listening to me, all of these things. What about what I do want? Sometimes we don't think about that. We're so much in the wrong. This is what needs to be fixed. This is how my life is wrong and bad and not what I expected. What about what is right? And what about what we want life to look like? Clearing out that stuff from the past will help us make room for the beauty in what is already there, and also going after and achieving what we desire. It's a fine balance. I think that's really relevant to mention here, that we had the topic last time of self-hatred and how that affects your relationship. And that's kind of the shadowy, darker side of the coin. And then today, we're bringing in some balance. What can we appreciate that's already here in the relationship, that is already beautiful and wonderful and gives us so much life that we're not even acknowledging? We've just accepted it as, well, this is normal. This is my life. I'm married. I have 2 children and womp womp. Oh, but you're married. Like you have a partner, a beautiful partner and 2 children. And isn't that wonderful? Isn't that fabulous? There's so many people who wish they could live that life. I do like this idea of the term romanticizing, which you see on social media a lot now. This idea of romanticizing the relationship. What I mean by that is really focusing and putting our awareness on the beauty of what is there, on the little moments that we have with our partner, that passing touch that we give to each other, the peck that we give to each other while we're cooking together and listening to music and laughing and playing and having fun. These are the simple moments where if we can have the clarity, then we can receive and understand and feel the beauty of what is happening right now in its simplicity. I will share here, since we're talking about romanticizing, I will share that this all came to me this weekend, and it was tipped off by a meditation where I was watching myself standing over this big canyon. It's a vision that I see quite often, actually, in my meditations, and it feels very powerful. I am looking over this kind of Grand Canyon structure, and there's wind in my hair, and I just feel very powerful. I'm looking out and going, yes, this is my life. This beautiful, spacious, vast canyon that is teeming with life and opportunity. And usually when I see that, I am alone. Well, this past weekend, I was there in the vision, and my partner came and stepped up next to me. And there was a feeling of royalty, of a king and a queen. Now, if you know me personally, maybe you do, but if not, you don't know then that I am not some millionaire. I don't live in a mansion. We live a very average, normal lifestyle. And yet, I do feel that feeling of royalty, of power, and that power couple dynamic. I really was able to absorb and feel that in this vision. And it really showed me everything you wanted, everything you have wanted is here now for you. Yes, I have done a lot of work to get to where I am now, a lot of inner work, a lot of work in the relationship. So that is true, but I am not special. Anyone can feel like royalty no matter what lifestyle you're living, no matter what's true for you. You can feel that power that I felt in your own way. We all have our special way of feeling power. That's what makes us special. We're not special in that one of us is given more power than the other. We all have power, but can we connect to it and then step into it? That's another thing about this whole seeing your relationship as a dream come true thing, is that I used the word receive earlier. Are you ready to walk into the beauty? I visualize someone walking into a garden. When you walk into that garden that's already here, that you're living in, are you going to be able to receive the beauty of it? Will you be up in your head judging the garden? Well, I like this flower, but I don't like that one. That's an ugly flower. Let's get that one out of here. Or are you going to simply walk through the garden and appreciate all of the diversity of the plants and the flowers there, and acknowledge the beauty of what is there and the fact that it doesn't need to change? I don't know a lot of people that would look at a flower and say, it's all right. I guess I would make it a little bit more purple, or, like I would make it a little smaller. It's a bit much. We don't say these things about flowers because they're part of nature. They're a beautiful creation from nature. We just appreciate the flower for what it is. Why can't we do that for our relationships? All of us have this beautiful flower of a relationship between us, our partner and us. We create this flower together. Can we now tend to it and respect the beauty and appreciate the beauty of what we have created together? It didn't happen in a vacuum. Didn't happen out of nowhere by luck. You both chose to be here in this relationship and to show up the way that you do. So can we respect the beauty of that? Can we make room for ourselves to receive that? I'll go back again to this idea of cleaning up the past and of looking and excavating at our shit from the past so that we can then receive the beauty and be open and willing and feel safe to receive the love in the relationship. We're coming full circle now. We went from conditioning that love is not safe. If I had an emotionally rocky relationship with one of my parents or a caregiver, love might not be safe. We're coming all the way around now to, I feel safe enough in love right now that I can actually appreciate the beauty of it. I can receive the gifts of the love that I have created with this person. And I don't need to deny myself of that because I don't deserve it or I didn't do enough to receive it. oh, what if I just let it happen and took it all in without having to have an opinion on it all the time? The question often will become, if I'm relaxing, if I'm receiving, if I'm accepting that everything is perfect and beautiful as it is, will I not then just give up? Will I not then just be laying around all day and like, oh, well, everything is fine, so why even do anything? When we are acting and moving around because we think we have to in order to be safe, to ensure that we are loved, to make sure that we don't miss something, that we have everything under control, that is not the kind of action that is going to truly move us in the direction we want to go. You may have heard the term inspired action. That's the kind of movement and action that we're going to take when we're able to also be in the place of acceptance and of loving what is already here. Then we can take what's in front of us and make decisions in the here and now, in the present moment. We have a much clearer path to hearing our intuitive messages of what needs to happen next. Believe it or not, being okay and loving what is happening right now in front of me, what I already have, actually gives us more energy to then go and take action in a way that is coming from a true understanding of what we want and being aligned with what is fun for us. What do we enjoy? What do we desire? What do we want to create in our life? We will have a much clearer path to that if we are able to bring in some receiving and loving what is already here today. It's all about clarity of mind, not being as clouded by judgment, criticism, by what needs to happen next, what needs to change, what needs to be controlled. When we can take away the cloudiness of that filter, there's so much more clarity there of what really wants to happen. What do you want to happen right now? What do you want to do right now? I have experienced this in my own life where I have a couple hours of free time and I am able to really listen to what I actually want to do. And I can feel, here are the different options. Take a moment, check in with myself, with my intuition, and make a decision from there rather than, I have to go do a chore. I have to take care of this. I have to make sure that I'm being productive at all times. I'm not allowed to relax and just revel in what is already here, the love that I already have, because that could be unsafe. There's some layer of my conditioning that has convinced me that that is true. I love today's episode because it's really good for anybody who is deep in self-work or who has been listening to my past episodes. It's kind of a refresher where we are doing a lot of work and looking at the past. And we also want to acknowledge that there are times that we need to just relax and not feel like we have to heal our inner child and fix this generational trauma and release this ex and, all of these things that might feel like you have to be on all the time and always processing something, always making sure that you are changing. And I think it actually can block us from the flow of life. In fact, I know it can. I know that when we are in that achievement mode, we're usually tense in the body. I mean, we're literally hardened. And so flow cannot come in when we're so tense and when we're so full of fear about not being lovable, not doing enough, not having the perfect relationship that everybody else has on social media. That isn't even true, by the way, not even remotely. All of us couples out here, we have our own challenges. Every single person has human challenges. That's what makes life interesting on some level. At the end of my episodes, I usually share some tips for how to work towards what I talk about in the show. I think that's kind of counterintuitive to what I talked about today. There are definitely meditations that you can do in order to feel this way about your life. And there are also little changes that you can make to your own thoughts. But when we're talking about changing your actual perception of the world, we're always talking about an element of time that's going to be involved. I like to say that as a disclaimer in all of my episodes. time is a factor, if we're wanting to bring in more receptivity to beauty and to love, that's something that requires a softening, in my opinion, a softening of the body, of the mind, of the emotional body. And that's not something we want to rush. I prefer a gradual and sustainable change that happens from a foundational level so that we end up enjoying the benefits at the top of the pyramid. The change comes from the bottom and trickles upwards rather than trying to desperately control and change the situation that we're in, our relationship. Can I be patient with myself as I shift my literal perception of the world? By the way, that is what magic is on this planet. Magic happens when we change our perception of the world, of our life, and our relationship would be a huge part of that. You can change your perception of your partner. I've seen this happen in my own life. I really wanted to have a beautiful office when we moved from Florida to where we live now. I saw our current apartment. I just assumed that, well, it's not going to be here because this is an ugly room and it has carpeting and I hate the color of the paint, etc. I was firmly believing that this was not going to be the apartment that I had my dream office in. Well, little tweaks have happened here and there. I've changed my lighting. I've added a couple things. And now I look into my camera and I am very happy with my office, with the background that you guys are seeing right now on this video. Little by little, these changes came together in this room that made it my dream office, that made it so that I felt proud and excited about where I film my videos. And I just 3 months ago, was completely sure that this would never be the space that I would be proud to make videos in. That's just an example of a time where I had something all along. With a few little easy upgrades, I was able to turn this room into my dream office. Kind of crazy. So you can do the same thing with your relationship. You could make changes at a fundamental level, at a thought level. We experience our world via thought, via the mind. So you can make a change at that level and then be totally blown away at what changes in your life, in your physical life. You would be very surprised. That's the episode. Nothing needs to change. You have it all right now. I encourage you, if this was kind of a perplexing listen, there's so much depth to this topic. I mean, we were talking about changing our perception of reality. That's no small feat. Maybe this episode was like a peek into the realm of perception and of creating magic with our very perception and how we can actually soften our sense of reality. We can clean up some of our past and allow for some clarity so that we can see, not just literally see with our eyeballs, but feel and sense the beauty of what is already here, of how we are already supported and loved and cherished by our partner and also the other people in our lives. It feels kind of funny and corny saying that, but I really do believe it. I really do. I think it feels corny because society is telling us all the time that nothing is enough and we're never enough and we always need more. We always need to consume more and make sure that we look perfect and keep up this air. And yet, the most important stuff in life is just the little moments of connection. It has nothing to do with how we looked on social media or how much we achieved if we made sure that we were always working towards something. These are all fun things that we can play with in our life, but what really matters? What really matters to you? Thank you so much for listening today. I really appreciate you taking the time to get all the way to the end of the episode. If you're listening on YouTube, I would appreciate a subscribe and a like on the video. And if you're listening on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, please do give me a rating and let me know what you think. I'm also available via social media. You can reach me at Coached by Kelby. That's my handle on TikTok and Instagram. And if you want to reach out via email, I am coachedbykelby@gmail.com. You can reach out to me with ideas for episodes. If you want me to answer a question anonymously, I can absolutely do that. And if you'd like to work with me, I work with people on everything that I talk about on this show. And so please do reach out in the DMs or via email if you would like to team up and help get you towards more clarity, more peace, more fun and play in your life. Thank you again for listening, and I'll see you guys next Friday.